Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another session of our studying kind of who Jesus is. So far, we've talked about the divine side of Jesus, the human side of Jesus. Last session, we talked about the initiated Jesus, basically talking about Jesus' baptism and his temptation. Today, we're going to be studying something that we don't usually think of Jesus as, which is tough. Today we're talking about Jesus clearing the temple. So for those of you that are following along at home, we are in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 11, verses 12 through 19. As always, we do have some optional icebreaker questions. Before we get to that, though, just want to thank you all for being with me here today. Hopefully you get as much out of this session as you have other sessions. Also, if you would like to leave comments in comment section down below, either here or on my YouTube page where this will later be posted, please feel free to do so. So for our first icebreaker question, first question is, what does it take to get you to clean your house or apartment? Not much. It's sort of a weekly habit for me and my wife. I know that's sort of the right answer to be giving, that the house is cleaned every week, but generally speaking, with now 2 cats, a dog, and just general dust that's collecting, there's a fair amount of sweeping to do. There's stuff that's dropped on the kitchen floor, so floors need mopping. With all of the pet hair and animals running up and down the stairs, carpets, stairs need to be vacuumed. With the pandemic going on, there's hard surfaces that need wiping down, things like that. So it doesn't take much. It's sort of just a weekly habit for my wife and myself, but maybe that's not your answer. Let me know. What does it take to get you to clean your house or apartment? Let me know in the comments below. The second icebreaker question for today is, what's something that makes you really mad? Getting clawed at or bit by my wife's and my cat Sunny. That definitely gets me steamed, but I mean, then again, having cuts, scrapes all over your arms and hands and legs, ankles, sometimes your neck and face. Yeah, about that. I think that might be upsetting for just about anyone. But outside of that, injustice or intolerance, I'm a person who dreams of world peace, who dreams of no more war, no more bloodshed, no more senseless violence. A world where we can all just live in peace, where every person's treated as equals regardless of age, race, sex, political stance, religion, whatever. We are all viewed as humans. We are all viewed as equals. There is no, I am better than you, she is worse off than me. There is no hierarchy, so to speak. So the reminders of that there's still racism, there's still sexism, there's still inequality even in the land of the free, home of the brave, let alone around the world. I think that's definitely something that upsets me, but let me know in the comments below. What gets you really steamed or mad? Since it doesn't look like anyone's watching live as of right now, we'll move forward with the reading. Again, we are in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 11, verses 12 through 19. Listen now for the word of our Lord. The next day, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then he said to the tree, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." His disciples heard him say it. On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple area and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, "Is it not written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations'? But you have made it a den of robbers." The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching. When evening came, they went out of the city. This is the word of our Lord. Thanks be to God. So, first question is, what were the temple merchants doing that made Jesus so upset? Mixing worship and business, ripping off the people, robbing the temple of its holiness, or ruining the Gentiles' area of prayer? Well, so to speak, there was... What they were doing wasn't necessarily, uncommon practice. People were coming from far and wide. They would have different sources of different kinds of money, so they would need to exchange their currency for Jerusalem's currency, the denarii. People would need doves, lambs, calves to sacrifice for cleansing rituals, things like that. So those things would be on sale. They were on sale when Mary and Joseph lost Jesus at the age of 12 and they found him at the temple. So what I have been taught and what I've always believed is that the merchants were ripping people off. They were selling lambs, doves, calves for twice as much as those sacrifices were actually worth. The exchange rate, they were taking more money than they were giving back, essentially. So they were ripping people off, hence the den of thieves or den of robbers reference. That's what I've always come to understand it as. That's what I remember being taught what was going on in this context. But then again, it is possible that there is with that unfaithfulness, with one person ripping another person off, there is this robbing the temple of its holiness. It's supposed to be this sacred space, but now it's becoming just your common marketplace. It's losing its value as this house of God, so to speak. So that is an issue. That is a possible answer, definitely. If you answer one of the other ways, please let me know your argument. I would love to hear it. Otherwise, we shall move on. Question number 2. What does this story tell you about Jesus? Even Jesus expressed anger. He was passionate about the things of God. He wasn't afraid to confront wrongdoing. I think all three. We talked 2 sessions ago now about Jesus being wholly human. He is wholly divine, but he is wholly human. Therefore, he experiences emotion just as you and I experience emotion. In the raising of Lazarus, we are told Jesus wept. He felt sadness. In the Garden of Gethsemane, we have Jesus praying to God, saying, Lord, take my cup from me that I may not have to drink of it. Essentially, do not make me go through this crucifixion, torture, trial, all of this, if it is not absolutely necessary. So we have here an expression of fear, sadness, basically grieving the loss of his own life. So Jesus is capable of emotion, just as you and me. So Jesus, even Jesus expressing his anger, Jesus is able to feel it. Maybe he doesn't necessarily express it as to the extremes that we as humans do, but he's still capable of anger. He is still therefore capable of expressing that anger. So that's definitely a very viable answer. He was definitely very passionate about the things of God, being one in the same with Father and Spirit, being the Son, being the Word incarnate. To say that he was passionate about the things of God is to say that he was passionate about his own things. So there is that, and definitely he was not afraid to confront wrongdoing. He saw something going wrong, he confronted it. I don't think there's anyone that would deny he had a lot of moxie. He had no fear in standing up for what was right and doing justice. Any one of these answers is viable. I would say the one I lean towards the most, though, is not being afraid to confront wrongdoing. But that's me. Let me know if you disagree, if you think one of the other ones in the comments down below. Question number 3. When was the last time you got angry for a good reason, like Jesus did in the temple? I don't remember. I'm generally not that angry of a person. Quite honestly, nothing really comes to mind. I'll get angry at the cat for scratching me up, biting me, something like that. So supposedly that's a justifiable reason. That's a good reason. But to be angry like Jesus was, to be overturning tables and have it be justified, I don't think I've ever been that angry and had it justified, had it be for a good reason. At least not to my recollection. Maybe I have and I've just suppressed the memory. Who knows? Now, moving on. Question number 4. What have you found helpful in dealing with anger? Counting to 10, going for a drive, talking to God, reading the Bible, writing out your feelings, confronting the situation, physical exercise, turning over tables, talking to a friend, or something else. So again, basically, what do you do when you get angry? Instead of just reading through all these answers all over again. What do you do when you get angry? What helps you to kind of calm down when you are angry. The counting to 10 thing doesn't really do it for me, at least not 10. Generally, it takes me counting to 100, along with doing some breathing exercises, some meditative breathing. But more often than not, I'm not doing that. What really helps me to deal with my anger when I do feel anger is either confronting the situation, putting an end to it, or if it's something that takes more than just putting the cat in his crate, a simple fix like that, writing out my feelings. I have been known to keep journals to write out feelings when I've been going through hard times, to basically take my feelings, my emotions, and to put them somewhere else, to say they are not in me anymore, they are on this page, they are trapped there, I can move on now. Occasionally, though, I have done physical exercise, going for a walk or going for a jog, something like that, something where I'm getting out of the house, getting out of the workplace, and kind of going out into God's creation, reminding myself that this situation is nothing in comparison to the grander scheme of things. My problem is but a small portion of this greater picture, this greater creation that is God's. So that definitely helps me. Talking to a friend is definitely helpful as well, or a family member. I don't think I've ever turned over tables, just flipped tables and had an absolute tantrum, at least not to my recollection, and definitely not within the last number of years. Talking to God, prayer, that's something I've done on occasion. Playing piano, that would be sort of an other for me. Playing piano, or not even just writing emotions, just writing in general. Adding another chapter to my novel, writing a poem, reading. All of those are, I don't think there's any one way that I really deal with anger. And I would imagine you all don't have one distinct way either. You probably do different things depending on the level, depending on what's available, so on and so forth. So let me know. What do you all do when you get angry to kind of help deal with it and cope with anger? I would love to hear your responses. Number 5. If Jesus came to clean up your community, where would he start? Crime district, the media, city hall, the churches, the schools, my work, the businesses, my house, or somewhere else? So, if Jesus came to clean up your community, where would he start? In terms of cleaning up Holiday Island, I don't really know of any crime going on here. I've never really heard of anything going on. There was one little string of car thefts, or break-ins, but that was short-lived as far as I know. I guess in the greater Eureka Springs area, I guess the crime district. There's a fair amount of poverty in Eureka Springs. There's, to a certain extent, there are drugs, there is robbery, things like that. So I don't know of any corruption in City Hall. I don't know of churches that are misappropriating funds, anything like that. Schools are, I don't really know much about the school district at this point, so. My work definitely doesn't need cleaning up. So, I guess the crime district. I really don't know. Anyway. What about you all? If Jesus came to your community, where would he start with kind of cleaning it up? Let me know in the comments below. Number 6. What does it take for you to get involved or take action when my interests are threatened, when my family is involved, when my friends are involved, when a moral principle I believe in is at stake, when I think I can make a difference, when God tells me, or something else? So what does it take for you to get involved or take action? When your interests are threatened, family, friends, moral principles are at stake, when you can make a difference, when God tells you, or something else. Well, definitely if God told me you need to do this, I don't know if I would necessarily argue with that. I might wonder why, but I would do it anyway. Definitely, if I think I can make a difference, I would get involved. To not get involved in something that I feel I could make a difference in would be a waste of talent, would be a waste of gifts of the Spirit, as it were. If there is a moral principle at stake, and I believe that there is something that can be done about it, then I have been known to step in, argue, to kind of, while mediating the situation, also maybe give an opposing view and say, okay, let's not test our limits here. Losing my train of thought. Let's not lose our morals. Let's not try to try and take a high ground, force others to take the low ground, something like that. If family and friends are involved in something or taking action somehow, that would definitely be influential for me as well. That's just me, though. Let me know about you all. What does it take for you all to get involved or to take action in a certain situation? 7th question, how is God calling you now to get involved? To reach leaders in my community, to reach people for Christ, to get involved politically, to get involved in programs helping those in need, to bring change to my church, to clean up my own life, to set an example, or something else? I think for me as a pastor, I have to go with setting an example. Regardless of the age of my congregants versus my age, being in that sort of leadership role, I am the person that my congregants may and sometimes do turn to for guidance, for moral support, for answers to their questions. Not that I necessarily always have those answers, but bearing in mind essentially the what would Jesus do question with what I say, what I do, what I post on social media, things like that. Definitely setting an example and hopefully through that, if that causes a change to happen in my church, then bringing a change in my church. That's my answer though. Let me know about you all. How is God calling you to get involved right now? Last question as always is, how can this group support you in prayer? Though I have not gotten any prayer requests as of yet, please feel free to let me know what I can be praying for you all, if I can be praying with you all in some way. If you have a joy or concern you wish for me to share on this next Sunday morning, please let me know. I would love to share joys or to bring the community in and praying for you in whatever is causing you trouble, great or small. Let me know. Otherwise, that's all I have for you this session. We will continue tomorrow with session 6, where we will be talking, or session 5, sorry. Session 6 will be, session number 5, where we will be talking about the tender Jesus. I don't know why I keep thinking 5 and saying 6. The coffee's wearing off, or it hasn't kicked in yet, one of the two. Anyway, until tomorrow, stay well, stay safe, and God bless.